Blog Talk Radio.
Live from our Atlanta-based headquarters, it's Couples Academy Radio with Hasani and Pettiford, where love is alive, channels of communication are open, and commitment is the name of the game. I'm Hasani Pettiford along with my beautiful wife Danielle, and we're your hosts. So jump in and we'll talk about your life and your relationships. It's a simple call at 347-324-3102. Or go online at couplesacademy.org and click questions and answers. Keep those brief and to the point, and we'll do our best to answer those questions as a part of our show today. Thank you again for joining us, and once again, that number is 347-324-3102.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another great episode of the
Couples Academy radio show, you nut.
I'm tired.
You can't
we
be
got
that
so
tired.
many shows going on. I got to remember which show we're doing. Hi, everybody. How are you doing? This is your host, Danielle Pettiford, alongside my phenomenal husband, Hasani Pettiford. Say hi.
Hey, folks. And we're here for another great episode. And let me tell you something. We have been swamped all week long because we're dealing with couples. We're counseling. We're planning events. We're doing television shows, radio shows, so that we can serve you the way that you need to be served, and we're committed to doing that. And so, listen, this is October. This is Gender Issue Month, and all month long on social media we've been talking about the differences between men and women, the challenges that exist, and how to overcome those challenges. And interestingly enough, last night we were hosting Atlanta Live, which is a major show down here in the Atlanta area, and it's a live show. We had a lot of wonderful guests on, and we were talking about the issues that men and women face. But before we get there tonight, I really want to encourage those couples who are on the phone, or if you're not on the phone or listening to this show with your spouse, but you are married or in a committed relationship and you are going through, you have to remain committed. Listen, it's not about the size of the dog in the fight, but the size of the fight in the dog. And when you are going through situations and you feel like giving up and caving in and quitting, and you allow your feelings and your emotions to get in the way, you cannot make major decisions to end a relationship because of how you feel. Because if you do that, you've got to realize that feelings and emotions are subjective. They change. So one minute you're up, another minute you're down. One season things are going well, another season things are going bad. But that's a part of life. That's a part of relationships, and you didn't get married for just the good times, because when you gave your vows, it was for good and bad, right? For better or for worse, in sickness and in health, in poverty and in wealth. And so when things are going bad, that's when you want to give up, cave in, and quit. And when you've reached the 99-yard line, that's when you quit. You have one more yard to go, and you're ready to just turn in the towel.
That's right.
That's when you fight the hardest.
That's right. What are you committed to? Are you committed to your purpose? Are you committed to your destiny? Are you committed to your legacy? Are you committed to your children and your children's children? What are you committed to? Because when you walked down that aisle, you had a commitment to each other that you made. You had vision. You had plans. You had dreams. And what you have to remember is that nothing that is worth receiving is going to come easily. You're going to have to fight for it, and that's just the end of the game. You're going to have to fight for it, and even when you get through whatever issue you're going through today, you're going to fight for it again tomorrow. And when you get through the issue tomorrow, a couple of weeks from now, you're going to fight for it again, because it's a lifestyle. It's a battle.
That's right. And what's so interesting is that we're more committed to our careers, more committed to our entrepreneurial pursuits than we are our marriage. We're more committed to our children than we are our spouses. And our children came from our spouses. And we've shifted the focus and made everything about children, and we've avoided each other. We haven't given each other the time, the energy, the commitment, the passion to make it work.
Right. We're more committed to our things than we are to each other. Isn't that something? You'll fight to keep your lifestyle, your car, your house, keep up your image, your look. You'll fight to be able to buy the certain things that you want. You'll work hard, extra hours, put in overtime. But where is the overtime that you're willing to put in for your spouse. And don't you understand that what you put into your spouse, you also put into your children? I'm really getting fed up with people just caving in and quit. They're not even fighting. I mean, if you're going to cave in and quit, at least quit after you got bust in your eye, lip bleeding, and you just jacked up, leg broke, can't stand no more. Go through something. Be willing to fight for or stand for something.
When you get married, it's no longer about you. There are other people who are looking at you, relying on you, depending upon you. And, you know, it's funny. We think what we do behind closed doors is nobody else's business but our own, but it's not. You're sadly mistaken. What you do behind closed doors can affect an entire generation of people because you have children looking up to you. You have other people who are in relationships that are going through situations, but because they see how you've worked it out, how you've accomplished situations in your life, it gives them the encouragement and the strength to keep on going. So you're not living this life for you.
Right. I love what you just said. People are looking at you. And don't you want to be the one couple, hopefully more than one couple, that stands up for marriage, that shows people that it can be done and done well and successfully? Do you want to be like everybody else? Who wants to be status quo? Let's break down these barriers. Let's do what we need to do. Let's get in there, put the gloves on, and be willing to fight for our relationships. Let's fight to stay together, y'all.
Listen, we're having a couples retreat this weekend, and we have couples coming from all over the country, and I'm getting phone calls and getting texts about people who are just, they paid. They're just hours away from getting on that plane or jumping in the car and driving halfway across the country, and they've changed their minds. They've given up. They've turned things around. They've made the decision to just end the relationship. And the beast in me had to rise up, and I had to let them know, listen, this is not about just you. And so when you get married, there's a commitment that you have to make. You know what? It's about your children. It's about yourself. You owe it to them. You owe it to yourself. You owe it to your spouse. You owe it to your God. Because when you gave vows, you established a threefold covenant between you, your partner, and God, a covenant that can only be broken by death. But you rather kill your marriage with your behavior, with your attitude, with your words, with your indiscretions, than do what it takes to fight. And let me tell you something. Even if you think your marriage is dead, you can resurrect your marriage. There's so many people who have gone through, who have been in horrible situations. You would never think in a million years that they would be able to make it back. But because they were diligent and persistent and were willing to do whatever it took to make the relationship work, they did it, and it worked. So it doesn't matter what you go through. It doesn't matter what your situation is. It doesn't matter if you think that you're the only one going through what you're going through. The problem is when we go through stuff, what we typically do is that we become our own island. But when we talk to other people and realize, wait a minute, you've gone through that too, and these are the steps and methods you took to get out of it, wow, it'll work for me.
Yes.
So I don't know. I know that's not our topic for tonight, but I just had to say that because somebody on this radio show listening tonight needed to hear it. But listen, we're talking about feminism versus femininity. That's a powerful topic when dealing with gender issues because we're living in a day and age, as we've said, where the roles have significantly changed. They've become so blurry. And there was a time when men fulfilled a particular role and women fulfilled a particular role, and there was some level of harmony. But we've seen that culture and society has brought in new ideas, new concepts, which have shifted how genders relate to one another and has caused problems. So next week we're going to deal with the issues concerning men, but tonight we're going to deal with the issues concerning women.
Oh, Lord.
You know, feminism versus femininity. Some people think that you can have it both, but I believe that the two concepts are diametrically opposed. Because when you really understand the feminist movement, this is no diss against women, but the feminist movement had many major benefits and it had many drawbacks. One of the benefits, obviously, was women got the chance to vote because that right was denied them. They got a chance to be equal in society, to enter the workforce. You know, even though they're still not making as much money as men statistically, they've come a long way. So because of the efforts of so many women who have fought for women's rights, women now have freedoms and liberties in America that other women all over the world are still striving for. So in that sense, it's been a very good thing. However, a lot of this good movement has become corrupted and turned bad because it's become almost a competition between men and women today. And now you have women who are striving to be men or to replace men or feel as if men are. It's interesting how some women, according to the feminist movement, believe that sex is rape and marriage is imprisonment. And so anything connected to a man is evil. And we are better than men. We don't need men. We can do it for ourselves. And this is a culture and a social norm that has been passed down from generation to generation to generation, and that speaks to many of the conflicts that we have today in society.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything feminine about feminism at all. As a matter of fact, it's masculating, and it seems to be androgenizing us and making us feel like we're not different, which we are. Now, listen, let me just quantify what I just said. I believe we should have all the rights. I believe that we should be able to work and do everything that we do. But there's just something going on with the movement that's making us sort of at odds with each other, men and women, and sort of making us turn our backs on one another and sort of reach into our own genitor to receive everything that we need. It's a huge agenda to me. It just seems like there's something not right about it.
What's interesting is that you're right, there is an agenda. Because when you look at society today, whether you're watching television programs, movies, commercials, it seems as if everything's about girl power. Everything's about women ruling the world.
Right.
Now, I know that we've lived in a male-dominated society, and you have a whole lot of chauvinists and a whole lot of men that have not given women the respect that they've deserved. Yeah. But it seems as though women, in many respects, have become the men that they hate.
Absolutely. And
Let me say that again. Women, many of them, have become the men that they hate, meaning the same things that were done to them, they now are turning around and doing it to the men.
Wow.
And two wrongs don't make it right. It doesn't make it right.
Yeah.
And if we're going to really change the way that we operate and get things on the right path, you can't win evil with evil.
No, you can't. And you know what? You think about the media. When you said women are running the world, I'm immediately thinking about Beyonce and her video, and they're marching and it's very militant, and the women going to run the world, and they slapping around men with no faces all over the stage and throwing them all around. They're all sissies. And I think about every day when I turn on the internet, I'm looking at researching articles and things like that. I see more and more men in skirts and dresses. What is going on? Why is there this agenda to feminize men and masculate women? Like, why is every woman cutting off all her hair, not just cutting it short, because I like a sassy short cut, but a boy cut? Why is everything a boy cut? Why is it that you can walk down the street and see a female and not know what she is? And I'm not talking about homosexuality right now. I'm talking about just this agenda to effeminize women and effeminize men.
What's so interesting is that when God created this earth, one of the first institutions that he established was the family. And when he did that, he created Adam. Eve came from Adam. Yes, man and woman, male and female, feminine and masculine, and every man represents the masculine expression of who God is in the earth. Every woman represents the feminine expression of who God is in the earth. And there were clear distinctions, but it seems as though the enemy has come in and has confused things. And to your point, he has an agenda, right, to blur the gender lines. So as you're saying, women are becoming more masculine and men are becoming more feminine, and it's coming out in fashion, it's coming out in the culture.
It's coming out in the culture. I mean, you got Kanye West rocking a kilt on stage, rocking that out. You got
P. Diddy.
You got P. Diddy. And I mean, his skirt looked his was a schoolgirl skirt. It was plaid replete.
We just saw an image of a man in a runway, a fashion runway, and he literally had a dress on, a dress on that came to his knees with a jacket and boots.
And it was a bomb. I would rock that in a minute. I loved the outfit, but for me, and you think about your children, y'all, we need to get a grip on our children because they're really after our children. They're not really worried about you. If you're grown with kids, you're sort of like the dying generation. You've already been programmed and raised up in the generation that you came up in. They want the minds of your children, so you pay attention to what you see in the media with the young entertainment artists. Look at Willow and Jaden Smith. Every time you see Jaden, he's got a dress on with some tights under it. Every time you see Willow, she's bald-headed with, stuff, graffiti in her head. She looks like a boy with a skateboard. You know what I'm saying? She looks like a rocker. It's an obvious agenda. It's like they're trying to switch the styles, make it no big deal, but making it cool for boys to be effeminate. Think about the video that we saw with the boys, and they were so vulgar, and they were rapping about fellatio. Boys rapping about it.
Boys, hardcore boys from the hood on the corner rapping about sucking other boys' penises and enjoying it. This is the culture that we're in today. And unfortunately, there's so many people who are confused about their sexuality because, let me tell you something, folks, media has a major impact on the mentality and the behaviors of our people.
Right.
And so when you're constantly watching BET and VH1 and MTV, and that becomes your source of information, they spend billions of dollars a year creating imagery and videos. Why? Because it impacts the behavior of the people. And if that's all that your children are watching, and if that's all that we are watching in society today, we assume because that's what they're pumping us, that has become the new normal. And the new normal is something that is inconsistent with God's design for man and women in the earth. And we have to make a distinction, and we have to stand on principle. Listen, we can't allow the culture to dictate how we see ourselves, how we interact in relationships. We can't do that. We have to take a stand because the culture is infused with the enemy's agenda to destroy us, to change up our identity, to cause all this chaos and confusion in the family between men and women, and that's what we're dealing with today. And even though there were many people during the women's suffrage movement who had legitimate goals, who had a passion to really advance women's causes, and we thank God for them. There have been those that have come in that movement as well to turn things around, and we're dealing with that today. Listen, I wrote the book, Why We Hate Black Women and Why We Should Love Them, and one of the chapters that I wrote was entitled, Too Strong for Your Own Good. And I wrote that particular chapter because in the African-American community, black women have been forced to be strong. They've been forced to play roles that they were never designed to play. Forced to be mommy and daddy, forced to be husband and wife. And so as a result of this predicament or circumstance, they've developed a high level of femininity as well as a high level of masculinity. And so as a result, it's changed the way that we've raised our children. How many children, how many girls do you know who have been raised to be strong, independent, do for self, don't rely on no man, have you on this, have you on that? How many of them?
A lot.
And so what has that done when it comes to relationships? If a female has that particular mindset, when she enters into a relationship, she leaves that man with no role to play because she's been taught to fulfill it.
Absolutely. And it's something that it's sort of ingrained in our nature. And nobody's talking about how to get away from that. How do we as women change our mindsets and sort of like reset things in our minds to know how to operate in these relationships, because we really are trained backwards just by default, by being raised in these single-parent households.
But before we talk about that, because that's a valid point, we need to know how it became this way. In the African-American community, we know that our problems stem all the way back to the plantation. So on the plantation, that's when our families were destroyed because they would take the men, make examples of them, they would lynch them, they would kill them, right? And so mothers protected their sons. They didn't want them to be aggressive and assertive and to speak out. They wanted them to play dumb.
That's right. They would tell them, he's stupid.
Don't mind him. They were doing it to protect their sons from the slave master. Meanwhile, they raised their daughters to be the assertive ones, strong, independent. Why? Because if you are ever in a position when you become an adult where your man will be taken away from you, at least you can stand on your own. So these were survival skills and tactics that were taught to the children.
And we never lost them.
Never lost them.
And when the family began to come together after slavery, then you had that whole movement of much later where, welfare came into the picture. And women were kicking their husbands out so that they could gain welfare. And so that was another opportunity to break up the family. Now you had single-parent homes at that point. And there were women raising the kids. The husbands weren't in the house because they weren't able to get the welfare if the husbands were in the house. And there was another epidemic of broken families.
Now, let's stop right there. You're talking about an agenda. So you mean to tell me that the system that the government instituted a plan where they allowed women and children to benefit from the government with money that they needed legitimately. But in order to get it, you have to take the husband, you have to take the head, the male figure, outside of the home, thus separating the family.
And actually, I mean, it still goes on now. People still do it now to gain greater benefits. Women will have at least submit that they're not with their husbands so that they could get the greater benefits. So it is an agenda all the way around. It's just, you know, I'm just thinking about the children, too, just growing up and seeing all this and how this is something that is really going to continue to happen if we don't get a grip on our children's minds, because they're being indoctrinated by what they see at home, all the foolishness they see at home. Mommy and daddy can't get it right, screaming, everything. Then they go into the world, they're watching television, they're going into the school system, and there's nobody there to put a cap on what they're learning. It's just coming in as truth. And then they go home and look at you, and you look antiquated and out of date. Everything that they're learning in school says that you're just of a generation where we thought crazy. You know, we didn't think right. We were wrong about everything. And so now they believe what the world is telling them. It was interesting meeting Ted Baer yesterday, who wrote the movie guide, the movie guide book that talks about all the good, wholesome, wonderful movies that are out there that are being created by producers out there that we could be watching.
Right.
You guys should check out themovieguide.org, because I think it's interesting how there's a statistic on there that talks about how the world, the U.S., wants to watch nothing more than rated G. As a whole, the statistics tell we don't want anything worse than rated G.
Right.
But the producers out there keep putting out rated R movies, and we don't want it. China will not allow it.
That's right.
India will not allow it. And the world, Islam, Muslim countries don't allow it. And then the world looks at us like Christians are the devil because of the stuff that we put out in the world.
So these other faith traditions,
no, they don't allow it.
Or atheist nations don't even allow immorality in the movies and have banned them and made them illegal.
They are banned.
In this Judeo-Christian society, we have porn, we have fluff, we have everything that is evil, diabolical, and wicked that affects the culture, and we are not doing anything about it.
Exactly. And so what you find Hollywood doing is, you know, PG-13, right? PG-13 was always supposed to be acceptable, not so bad, you know, parental guidance type of thing. Well, they have somehow changed the rating system to include a little bit too much raunchiness, because the world doesn't want all this rated R stuff. So if they can't have but so many F words, if they can't have but so much, you know, nudity or crude language, they'll just scale up the rating. They'll change the rating to include the mess that they want to get into your children. It really makes me furious when I talk to Christians about the things that are in media that your children are seeing, how you're being indoctrinated. I mean, Kesha, yes, her music is good. My kids were listening to it when they were dancing on the video game. But when I did my homework and researched that the chick straight up serves the devil, she's a self-proclaimed devil worshiper, I shut it down. And it really irks me when Christians think it's no big deal. It's just music. And they don't understand why their kids are acting out a certain way, why they cannot keep their hands off of boys and girls, why they acting sexy and shaking their booties a certain type of way. They do not get it. It's in the music. It's in the media. It's everywhere around you. You need to be a guardian of your house.
The scripture says that he's able to do exceeding abundantly above all that you can ask or think according to the power that works within you. But the question becomes, what power is working in you? Is Kesha working in you? Is Beyonce working in you? Are all of these pop culture artists working in you? The reality is, if you go to church once a week, hear the word, and forget 90% of it before you come outside, you know, before the benediction's over, but you spend Monday through Saturday listening to the same songs, watching the same videos, and they're looping over and over and over and over again, you are almost conditioning and programming and hypnotizing your mind with the messages in the music. I know the hook is good. I know the music is good. The beat is good. But the messages, if you were to take the music away from the sound, right, the music, away from the actual lyrics, and dissected the lyrics, would it be something that you would feel comfortable with? Listening to and allowing your children to listen. And listen, I know it seems like we're going all over the place, but it's all connected.
It's all connected. It's all connected. We're talking about femininity and versus feminism. And you have to understand that it's an agenda. It's not that somebody is signing up to be a feminist. You're becoming a feminist by the culture that you live in, and you don't even understand it or acknowledge it. It's in the clothing that they put out that you wear. That's why we were talking about the men in the dresses. I mean, don't think for a minute that there won't be some strange, odd clothing coming out in the girl, in the female line that will follow suit with what they're doing with the male's clothing.
Absolutely.
But it's in everything. It's in your music. It's in your media. It's coming into your house through your children. It makes me think about the whole global warming thing, how, when it was a big conversation, it's not really talked about much right now, but when it was a big conversation, my kids were coming home when they were in kindergarten. They were coming home, and they were indoctrinating me. They were like, global warming, Mom, we need to do this, we need to do that. And I'm like, wow, this school has, kindergartner, on patrol in my house. If I put a plastic bag somewhere, no, Mom, that needs to be recycled. Put it over here, having a fit. And I'm all for recycling, but I'm just saying that when you send your children out in the world, you're basically handing them over to this indoctrination. And I'm passionate about it because I have 4 girls, so I see it a lot. And I'm just like, man, this is such a sick agenda, and we have to do something against it to fight it. And it starts at home. Why do you think marriage is so important? You and your husband are the pastors of your church. Because your church is in your home, body of Christ, if you're the body of Christ. So you need to be governing your home. You need to be checking the balances. You need to know what your children are listening to. You need to check what you're listening to. All of this is important.
All of it is. All of it is. We're talking about a whole lot under the title Feminism versus Femininity, but it's very, very, very important that you hear what we're saying because everything is connected to the other. Listen, all month long we're going to be talking about gender issues, so if we don't get to all of the points tonight, we'll get to it next week, but we want you to stay tuned in to us because there's some relevant things that we're saying. Listen, we have a couple minutes left, but as it relates to male-female interpersonal relationships, as it relates to the feminism movement, you have to go back and do the research for yourself.
Yeah.
Understand the agenda that has been attached to the movement. Look at all the good things that it has done, but look at all the detrimental things that it has done to the culture as well as to relationships. And I know you're saying, well, wait a minute, men have been ruling the world for years and women have been taken advantage of. They've been put in their place. They've been made less than, and you're absolutely right. We're going to get on that too. Chauvinism has been just as bad as feminism when it's been operated in its extreme. And so as a result, if you're a chauvinist, women lose. If you're a feminist, men lose. So we need to give up the isms altogether and get back to the way that God initially designed it to be. Because when you understand the proper role of a woman in a relationship and the proper role of a man in a relationship, and we're going to get there, we want you to stay tuned, then you begin to understand the freedom and the liberty that you have in your femininity, in your masculinity. And we're not talking about this archaic, woman be barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen, do what I say, submit, and be prisoner to some man that doesn't know how to treat you right. That's craziness, that's foolishness, and that's the lie that has been perpetuated in society that a lot of people have bought into. Listen, just as women have gotten off course in terms of what functions they should play, men certainly have done that as well. And so listen, in the book Why We Hate Black Women and Why We Should Love Them, we talk about those challenges and what men have done to contribute to the problem and what women have done as well. And so if we can begin to self-reflect and to look within ourselves, stop pointing the finger, and just look at what role that we've played and how we've contributed to the problem, I think all of a sudden things will begin to change around for our relationships. We have 2 minutes left. Danielle, close us out.
Oh, God, you're going to throw it on me to close it out? I was all into what you were saying. Ultimately, listen, Hasani said it. He put it in a nutshell. We just need to really evaluate. Everything needs to be in balance. We love the fact that women have progressed, and I'm a woman, of course. I'm not trying to go back to days where we couldn't speak and all that craziness. But it just needs to be balanced, and we need to make the balance, check that balance against what the Word of God says. We don't want to have women over men, and we don't need men over women. There just needs to be a balance. And so as long as we get that on, we're going to be talking about that all month, But as long as we get that straight, I think we'll be good the rest of the way out.
Folks, we love you. You've been listening to another 30-minute segment of Couples Academy Radio. We hope that you're enjoying what you're hearing. Continue to call in and listen online. Listen, share us. Let other people know about what Couples Academy is doing via the radio waves. Listen, we have just become the brand new host of Atlanta Live. Even though it's here in Atlanta, no matter where you are throughout the world, you can watch the stream, and we're going to be dealing with relationship issues and things that mean a whole lot to you in your life, in your single life, in your dating life, in your committed courtship life, whatever season of your relationship that you're in, we are committed to you. If you have questions, if you have comments, we want you to go to the website and email us. We want to hear from you. If there are topics that you want us to talk about, we want to hear from you. We want to know how Couples Academy Radio is making an impact on your life. Thanks for tuning in. See you next week. Good night.